Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GinJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLugo. Thanks so much for tuning in here on Thursday, April 17th. Good afternoon to you, Duval. And as you all know, the NFL draft is officially 1 week away. Exciting news about the draft. Club Jaguar, featuring UCF Jaguar, Jason from Jaguars United, and myself will be recording live at Bottlenose Brewing next week in Tinseltown for the first round of the NFL draft. We're going to have a fourth mic that will allow fans to come up and chop it up with us a little bit. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Excited to interact with y'all. And Bottlenose Brewing is going to be having a free beverage with an entree. Jason from Jaguars United, the first 20 people that get out there, is going to be giving a free beer to each of them. So a lot of exciting stuff going on over there. Bottlenose Brewing at Tinseltown, Jaguars, little draft party. We're going to have a good time. Be recording live for Club Jaguar from Bottlenose Brewing. So come out to that, hang out, have a good time, celebrate the Jags, celebrate the new era of Jaguars football led by James Gladstone and Liam Cohen. So getting into the crux of the show today, Dane Brugler's 7-round mock draft. And when Dane Brugler puts out a mock draft, a lot of the projections here are about what he's hearing, what he thinks might happen. He's not doing this based on what he would do. He's not doing this based on his big board. He is doing this mock draft based on what he thinks will happen. The best guess or projection for what will happen come draft night, right? That's what Dane Brugler is doing. The Jaguars have the 5th pick. They have 6 picks in the first 4 rounds. They have 4 picks in the first 3 rounds. Dane Brugler has dropped a 7-round mock draft covering every single Jaguars pick and every pick in the entire NFL draft. So we're going to take a look at it here today. Travis Hunter at number 2 to the Cleveland Browns. First pick, Tennessee Titans, Jaguars, dreaded division rival, Cam Ward, quarterback, Miami. Second pick, Travis Hunter, wide receiver / cornerback out of Colorado. Third pick, Abdul Carter to the Giants, the edge out of Penn State. Fourth pick, Will Campbell, offensive tackle, offensive lineman, to the Patriots. Fifth pick, Jacksonville Jaguars, running back, Ashton Jeanty, Boise State, who was born in Jacksonville, Florida. Spent a good little bit of his childhood in Jacksonville, Florida. Dane Brugler has this to say about the pick. If the Jaguars had a chance at a high-level corner here, which they do, Will Johnson, ever heard of him? That is the direction they should go. But this draft is light at the top, and Jeanty is the best player available. He would give the Jacksonville offense an immediate upgrade. I have said it earlier today. I've said it the whole time. I would not be mad at all if the Jaguars draft Ashton Jeanty. In fact, I would be really freaking excited. I think there are more than one possible excellent outcomes from the 5th overall pick from the first round for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think Ashton Jeanty is one of those great options. He's not the pick I would make because bottom line is running back from a team building standpoint, from a cap standpoint, from a value standpoint. If you take a running back in the top 5, they're already close to the top of the market at the position. Take a defensive tackle, a wide receiver, an edge, an offensive tackle, a quarterback, a cornerback at the top of the draft, and you are getting a value if that player hits. If Ashton Jeanty hits, he's already being paid as if he hit. So that's why I think the greatest possible outcome is hitting on a high value position early in the draft, which is why I have said in this scenario, I would take Mason Graham. But I will not be mad at all if the Jags take Ashton Jeanty. I would love to see him in teal. And he does it all. If you want my full kind of breakdown on Ashton Jeanty, I did it earlier this morning and I explained why I love him, but why I probably wouldn't take him at 5 overall. And why I'd be excited for it. So there's a lot of different things that could get me fired up about this draft for the Jaguars. Ashton Jeanty would be really exciting. He would be. I would love to see him with Brian Thomas Jr. and Trevor Lawrence getting coached up by Liam Cohen. So at 36, the Jaguars, with their 2nd round pick, take Trey Amos, the cornerback out of Ole Miss. I like this pick a lot as well. What's interesting here, I feel like with the moves the Jaguars have made this offseason, you could argue, probably should argue, at this point, it looks like everything is pointing to the defensive front being addressed early. They didn't make a single move along the defensive line in free agency. Not a single one. The talking points from Liam Cohen, from James Gladstone, they've talked about, probably getting some defensive linemen in the draft. Is it possible that the reason the Jaguars didn't address the defensive front in free agency is because they feel like they have a talented defensive front? You have Josh Hines-Allen, you have Trayvon Walker, you have Eric Armstead, who Liam Cohen coached against Eric Armstead in LA. James Gladstone knows all about Eric Armstead. Do they feel like, hey, we've got a guy who we're going to get him back inside. He's not coming off a major injury, and he's going to play damn good football. And hey, we saw what Mason Smith did at the end of the year. He can play damn good football. Maybe they're saying what we really need is depth, not like frontline guys. I think if this is how the draft plays out, with Genty at 5, with Mason Graham still on the board, with Trey Amos at 36, I think that's what they're actually telling you. And not a lot of people have kind of taken what the Jaguars have done this offseason that way. But maybe that's how they feel. I wouldn't blame them. Like, I do think Eric Armstead's a damn good football player when he plays on the inside. I do think Mason Smith is an ascending young guy. I love Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker. Maybe they just think they need some depth. But I do like Trey Amos a lot. I think that the Jarian Jones situation is tricky, and we've talked about that a good bit lately. I think Jordan Lewis is probably going to be the nickel. I think they're paying him to be the nickel. Tyson Campbell's going to play outside, which gives Jarian Jones an opportunity to compete outside. If you don't take a cornerback early like this at 36, I think it's very possible you might be drafting someone who's not as good as Jarian Jones. I do think Trey Amos probably projects better as an outside corner than Jarian Jones. And then that makes Jarian Jones an incredibly valuable backup piece that can play inside or outside for you. I kind of like that. Whereas if you draft somebody in the 3rd round, depending on how the board falls, there could be a guy that falls that might project better than Jarian Jones, in my opinion. There might not be, right? So I do think if you're going to take a corner early, you probably got to do it in the first 2 picks. Probably. Again, you never know how the board will fall. And then if you don't get one in the first 2 picks, I think maybe you take one late, day 3. Let's see where Revel is. He falls all the way to 62. I think that's crazy. I would not take Trey Amos over Savone Revel, but I do think Trey Amos is a really good player. So 5, Jaguars take Ashton Genty. At 36, they take Trey Amos. Again, I like the pick overall. There's probably some players I would not take him over on the board, but it is what it is. And then at 70, again, not going defensive or offensive line. Kevin Winston Jr., the safety out of Penn State, another player I love who I think is a value at 70 overall. Coming off of an injury. Maybe could have been like a back end of the 1st round pick type of guy had he not gotten injured. That's kind of how it goes sometimes. So, speaking of safeties, where did Starks go? He went to the Bills at 30. So the Bills go get Starks, Farmer, and Revel with their first 3 picks. Man, good for them. So the Jaguars, again. Genty, Amos, Kevin Winston Jr., I think they're all really good players. I think that this would represent really upgrading the secondary in a big way and the running game in a big way. 2 areas you could say the Jaguars really needed to upgrade. At 88, you go get Gunnar Helm, the tight end out of Texas, and I am a big fan of Gunnar Helm. He did not test well, but he was dealing with an injury, right? He's not a crazy athlete, and a lot of the times you look at tight end and you say, crazy athletes, that's what you need. Again, it is what it is with the testing, but I think overall he's going to be a very effective and balanced tight end. Do I think he's better than Brenton Strange? No. So I think you're talking about tight end 2 down the road. I mean, I don't know if he's immediately going to be an upgrade over Hunter Long or Johnny Munt, who are both kind of in there to be more blockers, but guys that have, not a net negative as a receiver as well. So that's an interesting one. I think so far this is really interesting. I love the first 3 picks. Gunnar Helm, I like a lot. Then at 107, you get Jay Toei out of UCLA, who I actually haven't watched yet. I hadn't looked through this whole thing yet for Dane Brugler. So we're going to pull him up and just look at some basic stats. Again, I haven't watched him. So he's a 6'3", 325 pounder. So you're talking about, in all likelihood, a run-stuffing, beefy interior defensive lineman who is going to clog gaps. Not really the style of player the Rams have really put a heavy emphasis on lately. And let's see if he tested. I know this isn't the best podcasting, but I have to be honest, I haven't watched him. Okay, so he was listed at 6'2", 325. Combine, 6'2", 342. 32.5-inch arms, 10-inch hands. So this is a big, big man. And, it's got to be a nose tackle type at 340. I haven't watched him, so interesting pick at 107. I mean, that's a high value draft pick in my opinion. So I'm gonna have to get on that. I can tell you there's some guys on the board I really like. At 126, one of those picks from Minnesota, Ty Felton, wide receiver, Maryland. I like this one a lot. Y'all have heard me talk about Ty Felton if you've been paying attention, watching the show. But again, no offensive line, no defensive line. This would shock me if the Jaguars go through their first 6 picks and do not touch the offensive or defensive line. I would be absolutely shocked. I cannot see this happening. Now, Ty Felton, big fan. I think he fits really well with what Liam Cohen is going to do offensively. I think, with De'Ami Brown being on a 1-year deal, Ty Felton could step into that same role. Screens and deep shots. He's got some length to him. He's an incredible athlete. He has experience in the screen game. He has experience getting vertical. So, yeah, there's some things to get excited about there. At 142, Holland Pierce, the offensive tackle out of Rutgers. They finally go get themselves a lineman. Too little, too late? Maybe. At 182, Mac McWilliams, the cornerback out of UCF, who not the greatest athlete or anything like that, but somebody who I do think can be useful. But now you're talking about drafting 2 corners and a safety, barely touching the offensive line, not touching the defensive line at all through the first 182 picks. Bizarre. Very bizarre. At 194, Clay Webb out of Jacksonville State, the interior offensive lineman. I'm actually a huge fan of him. I've definitely mocked him to the Jaguars before. Big fan of him late in the draft. I think he has definitely a real role as a versatile backup, maybe even potentially a starter. And then at 221, Ahmad Hassanian from Boise State, very disruptive football player, not the best tester, not the best athlete, anything like that. Overall, each pick I do think has some merit and makes some sense. The most surprising one would just be Jay Toei at 107, just because I haven't watched him. I don't know that nose tackle is the spot that they really need. But that's the most surprising individual pick. I think the most surprising thing about the mock draft as a whole is just they really essentially did nothing to upgrade the ceiling of the defensive line or the offensive line. Yeah, they might have upgraded the floor with the back end depth, couple spots. I don't think they upgraded the ceiling at all, which, again, of the lines of scrimmage. Did they upgrade the team ceiling? Yes. I mean, Ashton Genty, awesome. Awesome player. I love him. I really do. Trey Amos, Kevin Winston, really like these guys. And I like a lot of the back end guys too, day 3. So would be a fascinating way for the Jaguars to approach this draft, and quite frankly, shocking. I don't think they're going to go into the day 3 of the draft and not having selected a single guy on the offensive or defensive line. That would surprise me. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. Y'all have a good one.